Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of our Werewolf Wild West game, Claws and Fangs and Revolvers. I am the Ravenous Sarkon. My name is Will, and I will be your storyteller this evening. And before anything, out in the wilds of the American West, there is a town that rose up out of necessity. Conflict. Conflict was founded and named not for the bloodshed that it would come to know, but for the trouble of coming up with a proper name for a city. Founded for its mining veins by Harold Penterton and Bartholomew Sirix, they have worked industrially hard at making Conflict a gateway city, a stop on the way to California. It has been 12 years since the end of the Mexican-American War. It has been 12 years since the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo that divided the western portion of the United States into Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado, where our story takes place. The Colorado Territory has seen an influx of pioneers, of settlers, and of those just looking to make their fortune, in one way or another. It has been 2 years since the Pike Peaks gold rush began, and as the saying goes, there's gold in them dar hills. Sitting in the shadow of Culebra Peak, Conflict stands to make the right people rich, and with greed slithering through the streets like the namesake of the mountain looming over them, we will be honing in on a group of people from disparate walks of life, from far-flung and neighboring territories, and with only one thing in common. They are Garou. The werewolves of myth and legend, born of two worlds and not belonging to either. This is a tale of wants. This is a tale of needs. And this is a tale of the horror that comes from choosing one over the other. The Sombra Escondida cairn is watched over by a worried group of Wendigo, Uktena, and Red Talons. The stories of the white men have circulated, have reached ears here and there. Stories about how they bring ruin and the weaver in their wake. Stories about how they allow themselves to be seduced by the worm. And stories about how the wild weeps with every conquering step they take. The town of Conflict has and will live up to its name. The land stirs as the trampling of boots, the hammering of iron, and the hoots and hollering of men replaces the barks and howls of the wolves in the wild. Progress comes to Conflict. Main Street comes to life with the rising of the sun and is lively well into the moon's claim of the sky above. Farmland is plentiful, mining is bountiful, and the liquor abundant. But a storm is on the horizon. Thunder rolls like the heavy wheels of a wagon train, and lightning cracks like the chorus of whips on the railroad, and the darkening of the sky creeps ever closer. Conflict, Colorado. And we are going to see how this pack of werewolves is going to weather the storm. But tonight, we are meeting one in particular, Ardyce, as has been mentioned to me, is how it's properly pronounced. Excuse me. Has no last name. She's an orphan from across the pond, as it were. Does Ardyce have a an accent?
He does, but I don't.
Okay. So all of that whole theatrical background is for naught with this character.
I mean, I can do a plethora of accents, but not the one that I decided to give her, so.
Oh,
Also, my voice is out today.
I mean,
Don't shit on me.
nobody had to know that.
I mean, I'm not gonna fake an Irish accent and pretend I can do it.
And I do it all the time.
Would you like to speak for Ardyce?
No, not at all. So Ardyce comes from across the pond.
Mhm.
She is red-haired, fair-skinned, freckled, typical good Catholic Irish girl.
Mhm. Who's also a werewolf, by
Who
the
is
way. Spoiler alert.
also a werewolf. Before we get going, excuse me, Ardyce is very different from the werewolves that we have seen so far. We have seen Juan Jose Martinez, who is played by Isaac Ortega, who is our Ragabash. We have seen Walks with Spirits, who's played by Donald Huss, who is our Theurge. And we've seen Jonathan Cartwright II, who is played by Dimitri Sanchez, who is playing our Philodox, our Rules Keeper. Ardyce is our Stargazer Galliard. So she's a storyteller. She's the one responsible for keeping the tales alive, for passing on the glory that is her pack's triumph. However, unlike Juan or Walks with Spirits or Jonathan, who were all born human, were all born of human parents and have known the Hamid world for what it really is, Ardyce is a Metis. And so she was born of two werewolves. She was, by very definition, her birth is proof that the laws, the litany, have been broken. It's going to be very interesting to see how your pack deals with you, especially Jonathan, since he is the one tasked with making sure that your pack follows the litany. And one of the things that we didn't discuss when creating your character is the fact that every Metis is born with some deformity, at least one.
That's correct.
To mark them, because they are a guaranteed werewolf birth. Two werewolf parents mating is a guaranteed werewolf offspring. However, you are a mule. You are barren. You will never be able to have children. And that is the curse of the Metis line, is that you are guaranteed a werewolf, but you are also ending your lineage effective immediately. So, in the book, they give you some options, some choices. If at the end of this list you don't find something that you think would benefit Ardyce in some way, shape, or form to kind of set her apart, we can definitely work on an equivalent.
Sure.
I think the list is rather interesting in and of itself. And we start off with Albino.
That is interesting.
Yeah, you have no melanin in your body in any form. Your skin is faintly pink and it burns easily. Your hair is stark white, not silver. And your eyes are pinkish to blood red. You get a +2 difficulty penalty on all your perception rolls if you are trying to operate in bright light without any of your protective clothing.
Okay. That's an interesting one to consider.
That's the first one. It escalates rather quickly because the next one is blind.
Okay.
Whether you have two eyes in the right place that just don't work, or no eyes at all, you are totally blind. You fail any rolls involving vision automatically, and at the storyteller's discretion, you may take the occasional bonuses with your other senses.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that did escalate quickly, but that's cool.
It doesn't get any better because the next one is fits of madness. Mental illness.
Like hysteria? Yeah.
Mental illness plagues you on a periodic basis. Whatever your malaise, you tend to fall to pieces when you get stressed. The storyteller may call on you to make a willpower roll whenever a situation gets tough. Scoring fewer than 3 successes means that you have become non-functional for a period of time, losing your lucidity. So, we went from bad to worse to you're just...
That would just be me playing myself instead of me playing a character.
Good times. The next one is hairless. You have no hair or fur in any of your forms, and you take a +1 difficulty penalty to all social
like a naked rat?
Just like the hairless cats we were talking about.
Okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, you might be able to avoid this penalty with humans when you're in Hamid form, although some
Okay.
people may be put off by your complete lack of hair. You don't have body hair where it'd be expected, not even
Okay.
eyebrows.
Yeah. Like alopecia.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Gesundheit. Um, Next one is horns. You have a pair of horns in every form. They may be like those of a ram or a goat, or like
In Hamid as well?
yes, in all your forms.
Whoa!
Or like an animal, or like a small pair of like an antelope, like antlers. You might even have a single horn, like a unicorn. Whatever the
Okay.
form, you suffer a +1 difficulty penalty to all social rolls, and you are likely to even be more heavily scorned by your fellow Garou, since horns
Okay.
are the mark of prey, not the mark of a predator.
Nice. Okay.
If you actually try to attack with your horns, which you may do, you will likely lose some amount of glory for fighting like a prey animal instead of fighting like a wolf, and passing as a human is particularly difficult for you.
All right.
The next one I think would be funny. It would be even funnier if you were French and not Irish, uh,
Okay.
but it's a hunchback.
Got it.
You were
Now I see the joke that you were setting up.
there. It is. You know, it lands. You were born with a front to back or side to side curve to your spine that's worsened as you've aged. It's
Mhm.
giving you negative social stigma, and it might also impede your movement. That is probably the most lenient of deformities, as it
Okay.
has like 3 sentences. The next one
Okay.
is no sense of smell.
Yeah, definitely not that one. So you don't even have to worry about that.
Okay,
As a wolf, like, no. Just skip.
okay,
Skip, skip.
okay. Uh, the next one is no tail.
Oh, okay.
Not having a tail creates serious communication problems with others of your kind.
Hmm.
You take a +1 difficulty penalty in in all social situations while in lupus form, hispo form, or crinos. In addition, your sense of balance suffers, and you take a +1 difficulty penalty to all dexterity rolls as well, while wearing those forms that require a tail.
Interesting.
Yeah. Uh, just a couple more.
Okay.
There's seizures.
Seizures.
Yeah.
Got okay.
When you're under the gun, you lose control of your body. When you botch an important roll, you would have to make a willpower check. Scoring less than 3 successes makes you writhe uncontrollably until the storyteller tells you to make another roll. You can take no actions while experiencing a seizure. It's kind of like epilepsy.
Yep.
Next one is tough hide. Your skin is tough and old as leather and considerably less attractive. You have no coat to speak of, merely a few patches of fur here and there across your wrinkled, dry hide. Your appearance can never be greater than 1, and unbearable itching and hot spots are constant aggravations. On the positive side, you get an extra die to soak rolls, but it's only a small advantage to weigh against your smelly, scratchy hide.
What a great description.
Right?
Is that the last one or is there another
No,
one?
there's 3 more.
Okay.
There's wasting disease. Your constitution is notably weak. You cough and wheeze and have extreme difficulty with the long term hunt and endurance runs where humans, wolves, and Garou normally excel. You take a +2 difficulty penalty on all your stamina rolls, including soak rolls.
What called again?
That one's the wasting disease.
Wasting disease. Okay.
Excuse me. The next one is a weak immune system. Werewolves are normally very resistant, even immune to ordinary disease. You lack that level of supernatural constitution and, in fact, are more vulnerable to ailments than most humans are. Because of your condition, you have no bruised health level, and when marking damage, you begin at hurt.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay. The last one is a withered limb. You have 4 limbs, but the muscles of one are atrophied, leaving it withered and paralyzed. Depending on your form, you can't walk well, and you run more slowly than other werewolves. and you incur a +2 difficulty penalty on all dexterity rolls when trying to use said limb.
Okay.
Those are the choices that the book gives you.
So the three that I'm thinking of choosing from is albino,
Okay.
blind, and the wasting disease, or I forgot which one you said.
Yeah. Well, your
Wasting, is it called
constitution,
wasting disease?
wasting disease. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the constitution is notably weak.
Mhm. But my gut says to go with blind.
Okay. Now,
So that's what I'm gonna do.
okay. So, um, so Ardyce is blind.
Hmm.
Does this mean that you have eyes that don't work, or do you
I
have?
would picture their eyes that don't work,
Okay.
like very light.
So they're a cataracted green because you said that you wanted to have green eyes.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're kind of like
Or like a pale, cloudy green.
yeah, a muted green.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, now that we have that, how does Ardyce get around then?
I'm picturing that artists would get around mainly by hyper listening to things and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that she's paying attention to her surroundings. So like hyper vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think she might be too worried about judgments to have like a walking cane.
Okay.
So she would rather like bump into something and pretend that she just didn't see it than than actually have assistance.
So she doesn't hide her eyes from public.
Mm-mm, she doesn't hide her eyes at all.
Okay.
She just kind of lets people assume until until they kind of know.
Okay. Do you think that you would have an aide to help you walk around, or do you think that she's stubborn enough to uh, try to get things done on her own?
She's not shy to ask questions. So
Mm-hmm.
I think she goes around on her own, but she asks lots of people and kind of tries to strike up conversation with people.
Mm-hmm.
Um So she would definitely be that type of girl who'd be like, "Could you walk me across the street? Could you, where's my seat? I don't know. Please take me there."
Okay.
She's not afraid to be by herself, but she definitely asks for help, in the nicest way possible.
Here's an interesting question for you.
Sure.
Do you think that Ardyce was born blind, or do you think that she became blind after her first change?
I'm fairly certain she became blind after her first change.
Okay. Does that change anything about how she feels about becoming a werewolf?
Yeah, she didn't like it to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Once she found out, that she couldn't have kids, and she found out, um, that she had this purpose that was not the purpose that she originally intended for herself. She resents it a lot. So, adding to the fact that now she has a disability on top of being a werewolf, she definitely is not a super big fan. But she'll make the best out of it
Yeah.
and try to be as bubbly as possible.
Now, going back to how we discussed your first change having happened, do
Hmm.
you think that the deaths of the people involved were accidental now because of your blindness?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, so we can say that you didn't mean to kill as many people as you did.
Definitely not. That was
Okay.
not something that she intended to do. But obviously, if she couldn't see, not only does that up the anger factor, it
Hmm.
ups the fear factor as well.
Okay. Um, there have been some helpful people that have taken you in and helped you out. Among them are members of the tribe called the Children of Gaia.
Hmm.
One in particular, and Emily Rosenblum from New York, made it her life's mission to help you get acclimated to Garou society as quickly as she found you. And one of the big things that she's been trying to do is find out where your lineage comes from, because
Mm-hmm.
although you chose Stargazer as the
Yeah.
tribe and you petitioned it after being told what options were available for you, every time that some of the spirits are called in to uh, bring in your lineage, there
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of talk of the Fianna
Mm-hmm. Because of my location.
because of where you grew up, your physicality, you're just too Fianna for your own good.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Um, and so Emily has tried as a good Catholic would to help her sister in need. And having grown up in the New World, she's a little bit more acclimated to how the United States is currently working.
Mm-hmm.
And given that she herself is a matron of an orphanage in New York, um, she has access to certain records and whatnot. And after about the third year of you being in New York, you coming to terms with how you're being treated by this Cairn, she comes to you with information. One night, she very carefully puts the bowl of soup in your hand. She she guides your hand to where the spoon is. As you're eating with her, you feel that she gets uncomfortably close to you. Like normally, she's sitting to one side or sitting across from you. She's sitting next to you this time, and you can hear that she's rustling through some paperwork. And she just leans over. Miss Miss Ardyce, I don't know if you want to hear this particularly, but I think I found where one of your parents might be. I think I found where your father might be. Is this is this something that would interest you, man?
Yes, it would. Absolutely.
Uh, you can't see it, but she nods.
Mm-hmm.
And although you can't read it, she does put a piece of paper on your lap. And she says that there is a gentleman of some renown to us here in New York who has trying to make his way to California. Um, he used to be a member of one of the packs down um, in New Jersey, and uh, I feel like there's a good chance, ma'am, that this might be your father.
How did you get this information?
I, I've been looking at records of people who might have come in to the state, to the city, around the same time as excuse me, your birth date, as far as the nuns were concerned. Um,
Mhm.
and there's been a few people, none from Ireland except Mr. Higgins here, Samuel Higgins. Um, he's he fits the description as far as he also has auburn hair. He also has a bit of freckling on his cheeks. He comes from the exact area uh, of Ireland that you claim to be from, Miss, and he is Fianna. He is a Garou. I
That's that's extremely interesting.
I'm just very sorry that I can't find anything on your mother. I don't think
That's okay. That's okay. You've done a lot already. I appreciate it.
you can't see it, but
Um,
she is nodding.
I Artist grabs the paper in her lap and tries to reach for her hand to put it on to reach for Emily's hand and put it on top of the paper, and he asks her very genuinely, "Could you read what's on this paper to me, please?"
It's it's not nothing important, ma'am. It's just a listing of names of people that came in from uh, Ireland and England on around the time of your birth. And it says that he was uh, 5'8" here. He's described as being 160 pounds.
I stop her and I say, "That's thank you. Um, I think I'll just need his name though,
Oh, oh yeah, it's Samuel Higgins.
Samuel Higgins." Okay. So even though Ardyce can't write it down, she tries to put it into her memory.
Hmm.
Samuel Higgins is a very important name,
Yeah. Um,
and she gives back the paper.
she takes it. Um, some of the spirits have been tasked with finding out where he is and what he's up to. Uh, we we found out that he left his cairn not too long ago, maybe about a few months ago, uh, heading out west.
Mhm.
He got rolled up in the whole gold rush, ma'am. I'm sorry to
Mhm.
say. Some of the accounts of his cairn say that he is a man of some means, but that he squanders it. Apparently, he takes gambling like a duck takes to water.
That's a shame. I mean, it's not a surprise. It's very popular in Ireland as well. Even though it's a sin, it is popular.
It is the
Where do
devil's
you think he
work.
is now?
The spirits mentioned that he has gone out west, so he might be anywhere from Kansas on. Um, the new territories might be appealing. Um, we can get you passage out west if you'd so like.
Can you really?
We have one silent strider that's going to Kansas, so we can open up some moon bridges for you and get you outside. As far as Kansas is concerned, um, you'll have to find your own passage further out west if he's not there, though.
Um, Artist kind of reaches out and grabs her arm and leans her head on her and says, "That would be absolutely wonderful. Kansas is a wonderful start. Thank you."
And you can feel her sigh, and you can hear it.
Mhm.
Like Miss Artist, I don't know if you're gonna be fine on your own out there. Like,
She kind of like waves her hand at her, and says, "You don't have to worry about me. I made it all the way out here, didn't I?"
right, but some of the some of the Garou out west aren't as forward thinking as people here in the city.
Well, I will have to change their minds, won't I?
I assume so, ma'am. And she holds your face for a long moment
Mhm.
before kissing you on the forehead. And she gets up. I'll go tell the elders that you're meaning to go with walks with death.
Walk of death?
Walks with death.
Walk with death. Oh, what a delightful name.
Uh, excuse me. Since you've never played werewolf before,
Hmm.
uh, in werewolf you earn a pack name, and
Okay,
normally it's a 3-part name or it's a 4-part name depending on what you're doing.
got it.
Um, there is a Iron Rider, for instance, in the city that
Right.
uh, is a lawyer by trade, and
Okay.
as such, he is one of the main resources that the Cairn has to kind of bring money in.
Okay.
But he has a regular human name, which is Gerald Owens the third.
Okay. Hmm.
But his Garou name, his pack name that was given to him, is Many Honeyed Words.
Many honeyed words.
Yeah.
Nice.
So The pack name is something that is earned. The
Right.
pack gives you your name. You don't
Mhm.
choose it for yourself. And so someone like walks with death earned that
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Right.
Um,
But it's also I think artists would be like genuinely intrigued as to how they got that name and how they are to travel with all the way to Kansas.
yep. Um, and about an hour later, Emily comes back and she takes your soup bowl away, and she does introduce you to Walks with Death. And she kneels down in front of you. Um, the elders have allowed it. They wish you well. They have sent some spirits forward as messengers. Are you sure you
Thank
want to
you.
do this?
Absolutely. An artist stands up and kind of adjusts herself. Um, and she asks, "Are they here with me now?"
Not the elders. Excuse me. And you hear a voice. I will be your guide moving forward, if that is all right with you.
Yay! Artist is kind of um, giddy when she hears a very familiar tone of voice,
Yeah.
and she walks towards it and asks and introduces herself as well as curtsies like a lady.
Yeah. Yeah. You are kept from bumping into them as they put
Hmm.
their hands up at your shoulders and kind of hold you in place.
Hmm.
Uh, and you feel a pair of hands grab yours as you curtsy, and they kind of put it into a handshake for you.
Mm.
My name is Walks with Death. I'm a Garou from not exactly your island, but around the North Irish Sea. Uh, was born there. Did a bit of traveling around the island. Went to the mainland, found my calling, came across, and I've been stuck with these tasty Americans for the longest time. You hear Emily kind of softly sigh, and then you hear a tap,
Hmm.
like a hand hitting some clothing. Um,
Artist giggles at his joke, um, and asks him if he's a Fianna.
no, no, I am a silent strider.
That's interesting. I haven't met one of those before. Well,
Uh,
maybe I have, but maybe I don't remember. I don't see very well. It's fine.
he you can't see it, but he kind of nods and is pointing up at your face, and then you hear him kind of sigh as he catches himself, and he's like, "Here I am trying to point out to Emily the fact that you have the most beautiful muted green eyes I've ever seen, and you can't even see that." Uh, but he grabs one of your hands and puts it on on his shoulder.
Mhm.
He's like, "If you'll allow me, I'll take you to where their moon bridge is being opened."
Absolutely. She curtsies again, and she kind of like not rubs his shoulder, but kind of like gives him a nice pat to
Yeah.
signify that she's trying to tell him like thank you.
Okay. Uh, your hand. How tall is Emily? She's 5'2",
5'1".
5'1".
Yeah, yeah. I have to.
Uh,
Emily? No, she's artist.
no, artist. Sorry. Artist is 5'2".
Hmm. She's
Five.
very small.
Yeah, 5'1",
But
five
she's
two.
wearing heels, so she's a very tall 5'4.5" at this moment.
Yeah. Your hand is currently above your head.
Yeah, that
Like
makes sense.
like he is tall.
Hmm.
Um, Easily his shoulder kind of sits at either 5'10", 5'9", around there. Uh, but he kind of taps you on the hand once with his hand, and he starts to lead you. And you can hear Emily start to kind of sob quietly as you are led over to where you can hear the elders chanting. You
Hmm.
hear the traditional kind of voices. You recognize some of the tones of voice as being some of the elder theurges, the spirit talkers. And although you can't see it, there is this amazing spiral of white glowing energy, just with a hint of gold
Mhm.
that opens up into this beautiful portal. And a couple of voices come over. They make sure that all of you are safe. Uh, one pair of hands that you recognize as
Mhm. Walks with
uh,
that.
no, uh,
Nope.
it is an elderly woman who puts
Mhm.
a kind of knapsack of clothing in your hands,
Okay.
and this is the child of Gaia that first kind of was the first voice of admittance to the cairn. Um, it is also the teacher that you kind of worked with as far as finding your calling. She's an elder Galliard storyteller.
Mhm.
Um,
When she hands me the knapsack of clothes, the other hand will kind of like feel my way up onto her like bicep and her arm and just squeeze it as like a sign of thank you.
yep. And she takes a moment. She whispers some old story of a wolf that traveled far from their home. A very quick story, uh, and how it was the only way that they could find happiness. And then she kisses you on the cheek, and she puts her hand back on Walks with Death's shoulder, and there is a familiar sense of piercing the gauntlet as he pulls you into the moon bridge, and you feel yourself being pulled into the Umbra, which is the spirit world. And it is a sight to see for people with actual
Vision.
working eyes.
I'm sure there is a lot of feelings and sounds that she's experiencing as well.
Oh, yeah. Um, Even though it is like the end of summer and it is technically a little bit cooler. Once you get in to the Umbra, there's a lot less heat here, especially as you start to climb up towards the sky itself. It starts to get colder, uh, and Walks with Death does, with your permission, kind of reach into your knapsack and pull out a
Mhm.
shawl and drape it across your shoulders. Um, and continues to walk forward, and you are pushed through the Umbra. You feel the sensations that you haven't felt before. You've never really traveled the Umbra without uh, guidance before, and so this is one of the
Right.
few times where it's just like Walks with Death isn't here to tell you a story. He's not trying to teach you anything.
Hmm. You're just accompanying me.
Yeah, he's just accompanying you, and the bridge comes down. You start your downward slope, and he kind of looks back at you. This is our first stop. I hope you don't mind. But we're coming in to just the southern tip of West Virginia. Um, the Cairn there knows that we're coming, so they're gonna open up the next bridge. Excuse me, and that should take us over to Tennessee, and from Tennessee we should be able to go to Kansas. That fine with you, ma'am?
There, are we meeting everybody along the way? I would love to meet the different Karen groups in different states. That sounds absolutely wonderful.
If you'd like to stop, sure.
Hmm.
I have to get to Kansas in a timely manner. I have a message that needs to be relayed.
I
Um,
see, and I'm enjoying your company very much. So I think that I would prefer you over everyone else.
there's a bit of a chuckle,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Well, I do try, ma'am." Um,
You are very modest, sir.
and yeah, you go to West Virginia, you go to Tennessee, you go to Kansas, you find out that Walks with Death is definitely another orphanage boy. Grew up in the orphanage. He was left there, and although he speaks with the familiar lilt of your homeland, he doesn't share any of your um, descriptors. Like he tells you that his skin is darker, that
Mhm.
he doesn't have freckles, he doesn't have the green eyes, his hair is wiry, and at one of the stops, probably in Tennessee,
Mhm.
uh, it takes them some time to gather up enough theurges to kind of, or people who are spiritually in tuned that know the ritual to open up the moon bridge. And so you do get a chance to sit with him, and he lets you do that thing that blind people do where they feel out the.
Yeah, the the facial features, and
Mhm.
also since his hair is wiry, that would be something that she would definitely ask permission
Yeah,
to touch.
yeah. Um, he has striking features. His nose is angled very harshly, almost like a beak. Um, but it doesn't. It's weird. It's a weird juxtaposition because he's been nothing but kind, and his tone is kind, but his facial features have this harsh, angular uh, lines to them that make him feel like he's always scowling or that he's just had a rough life. um, but he just laughs it off if you bring it up.
And bring up his hair
No,
or his sharp
his
features.
yeah, his face.
Hmm. Well, she would make a comment in the best um, artist likes to bring the positives out of people.
Hmm.
Um, so there would definitely be a comment about how even though she's blind, he's handsome. But how much weight does that comment have if I can't see you?
Yeah, yeah. And there's a moment where he pulls your hands away,
Mhm.
uh, and you hear him kind of stand up and move around. And he comes back, and you can smell something delicious, like a sweet bread. And he just kind of looks over at you, is like, "If I may," and then without waiting for um, compliance, he grabs your hand and he puts a bun in it.
Uh, Thank you for grabbing my hand. I thought you were just gonna put it in my mouth, and I was about to say, "I'm a lady, sir." So she takes the bun, um, breaks it in half, and eats half of it, and saves the rest for later.
Okay. Um, if you put the bun in your knapsack,
Hmm.
he will kind of point at the, and you can't see it, but he is pointing at something in your knapsack, and he's like, "Uh, haven't seen that in a while."
Oh, you're gonna have to tell me what it is.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Uh, your Bible. I haven't seen the good book in a while.
Yes, I have it. So she takes it out. She has it in her hands, and I don't believe it's Braille. I think this
No.
is a regular old Bible.
Yeah.
And she tells him, since I had to learn it by heart, I just kind of memorized. Somebody read what was on the page, and I memorized what page number it is, and I can recite it that way.
Hmm.
I
Do
hope
you
that's not too strange, but I had to learn.
No, no, I understand. I grew up with the book, um, but ever since becoming part of this world, it just I figured it wouldn't have been something that we hold on to.
Well, if you give me another book, I won't be able to do the same thing. And I figured that some of it might be true, so I'll hold on to it just in case. And it's the only thing I've ever memorized reading, if you can count that as reading. It's very special to me.
Have you learned to read the little bumpy writing?
You know, the nuns the nuns weren't very what's the word? Accommodating.
Hmm.
They didn't really get me an education in a way that I would learn, so I would just have to adapt my own. So if you're asking me if I can read conventionally or if I can read the bumpy letters as you said it, no, I can't. It probably is something I should learn though.
Well, just wondering if you can. Just looks like bumps on the page to me.
And I can guarantee you all letters look the same to me.
There's a moment, and then you hear him heartily laugh. If you're ready, miss, they are ready for us.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
And you go with him, Kansas, and when you get to the cairn, just outside of what will become, Topeka,
Hmm.
he very gently leads you to another theurge. He introduces you to them, and then, like a gentleman, just kind of leans down, kisses the back of your hand, and then very softly, as he kind of leans in, it has been an absolute pleasure leading you this far east, this far west. Uh, and if you ever find yourself in trouble and I'm around, please do not hesitate to ask.
We call upon walks with death whenever I can. And if I need you, you will, well, I don't know how to contact you, but I'll try.
That's
Um,
all that one can ask for, ma'am.
she pats his hand as well and curtsies back at him. It was a pleasure meeting you.
And with nary a word again spoken, you hear him kind of walk away. The theurge he's left you with is an elderly woman,
Hmm.
um, named Chanel, and
Ooh, fancy.
yeah, Shanelle. Man, that's the height of prim and fashion.
Wow. Wow.
Um, but she kind of takes your hand. All right, so um, I've been told you're heading further west.
I am.
Right.
I'm very excited to be heading further west.
Sure, of course. There's a wagon of some supplies that are going to be taken to a city not too far from here. It might be a couple of weeks' travel. Is that all right?
All right. I'm just happy to be making the journey.
Right. Um, I'll tell the Wagoneers then. You should be ready to go in the morning. So we have a spot for you. Some of the spirits told us that you're a stargazer.
I certainly am.
You don't look the kind, man. If I could say.
I've been told that.
And then she kind of lowers her voice and she's like, and we were also told that you were a Metis. Um, it's good that you're moving on. We don't see many of your kind here, and I don't think the Alpha would very much take kindly to your presence here.
Our artist's face like falters for a second, and then she keeps her smile and says, Oh, I wouldn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So I'm happy to move on as quickly as possible.
Oh, good, good. I have under good authority that a old associate of mine, a good friend, um, will be looking out for you when the wagon arrives at the city. Uh, he's he is the Cairns tail singer, so he is a Galliard like yourself. Uh,
Hmm.
but he is Uktena, so uh, we've told him that you are just the sweetest thing, uh, regardless of what your past is. Uh, but
It's
his
so sweet to hear you speak of me like that. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
You've been nothing but kind.
of course, his name is House for the Dead.
House for the dead.
Yep.
Yes, I just came here. I'm sure you noticed with somebody named Walks with Death. So
Mm.
this theme, I like it very much. It's very adventurous.
Some some would say it's ominous, but sure.
I would prefer to think of it as I'm hoping adventurous. Ominous. I'm not looking forward to very
Yeah.
much.
As you're trying to figure out what to say to her, like she just grabs your hand and starts to lead you to
Mm.
a secluded area. Excuse me. And she leads you over to what is just a couple of steps into a small cabin, and she leads you to a small bed. And she's like, "There's a you can't see. Here, I'll put the kettle on. I'll wait for it to boil
Do
over."
it. I'm more than happy to do it. Even though Ardyce is 1,000% sure she's not going to be able to complete the task by herself.
Yeah.
Um, she's way too worried at this point to inconvenience them any further. Um, so she assures she assures this old lady that she's capable of doing it herself.
Okay. She kind of doubts you, and so she shows you where the bed is, and then she leads you from the bed to the fireplace,
Mhm.
and counting out all the steps for you. And then she kind of rubs your hands around the arch of the fireplace where the kettle will be hanging, and she puts a towel in your hand, and then you just hear her kind of the water sloshing around, the metal sound of the kettle's top going on, and then the creak of the arm swinging over the fire.
Uh, is she still with me when it's being boiled?
Yeah, as soon as it starts boiling, she
Okay.
kind of starts to walk away. She's like, "All right, well, I'll leave you to it then if you're all right."
I'm all right. Thank you so much. You've been so sweet counting my steps for me.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night. I'll come for you in the morning. And you hear the door open, you hear her footsteps go away, and then you hear the door close
Now, Artis is gonna try to focus on getting the kettle out of the fire
without burning yourself.
without burning herself. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
This is her first major task.
Yeah. Um, so let's have you do a perception and athletics roll.
Okay.
So that's going to be 5 10-siders.
5 10 spiders. Ready? They're digital.
Oh,
Okay. 4, 5, 10, 2, and 4.
okay. It isn't too difficult. You do burn yourself as you kind of reach out, trying to
Oh.
figure out where the kettle is.
Mhm.
And then you bring the towel up and around, and
Mhm.
you do manage to take it off of its hook,
Good.
but in all of the older woman's guiding you from the bed to the fireplace, she never told you if there was a table
With tea,
or where the tea is or where the
right?
cups are.
The main So I think what Ardyce would do was put the kettle down on the floor because there she doesn't have to get it out of the fire again.
Excellent.
Um, and she'll walk towards the bed and then maybe see from if the table is on either side of the bed.
Okay.
Is it?
There is a night table next to the
Mm-hmm.
bed.
With the tea or without the
No,
tea?
no tea,
No tea.
no cups.
Hmm. Interesting. No
Just
tea here.
just a small, maybe like a foot and a half by a foot table.
Got it. And then she kind of feels along the wall until she runs into another table. Or and into anything,
Okay.
rather.
Are you going to
Just
follow the wall where the head of the bed is or where the foot of the bed is?
the head.
Okay.
Wherever the nightstand was where?
At the head of the bed.
Okay, so yeah, there.
Okay. You follow the wall to a
Mm-hmm.
bookshelf,
Mm, cool.
mostly empty. There's a couple of
Oh.
books. You will never know what they are. Couple of
It's a mystery to
trinkets.
me.
Yeah, there's a couple
Mm-hmm.
of trinkets on the shelves, and you do find what would be a right hand side antler.
A right hand side antler. Okay.
um, as a kind of trophy on the in one of the shelves, but there's no tea.
Okay. There's no tea. Hmm. So I would say she would put her back to the bookcase
Yep.
and hmm. In where the bed was and where the not the stove, but the fireplace was,
Yeah.
where was that? Like, does she remember exactly if the fireplace was directly across the bed?
If the bed and the fireplace are west and east, they are
Okay.
exactly opposite each other.
They're exactly opposite each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the bookshelf would fall where north is on
Yeah.
the compass
So she
rose.
heads south.
Okay. Takes 4 steps and comes
Hmm.
into contact with something. It is a
Okay.
table. You can hear the sound of porcelain glasses kind of clinking against each
Small
other.
victory. Yes.
And you do
Small
hear something
victory.
fall and crash.
No. Dang it. Okay, before she checks what fell and crashed, can she feel the tabletop?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. She feels around.
There is what feels like a couple of saucers, a
Okay.
couple of teacups.
Yes.
There is what looks to be a kind of jar with some wooden spoons.
A
Um,
jar with wooden spoons.
yeah,
Can
2
she
wooden spoons, a
open the
wooden
jar and smell
fork.
it?
No, no, the jar is open. There's no lid.
Okay, so can she smell? She's gonna smell it.
Okay.
Is
It
there anything of note in there?
it smells like pickles.
Smells like pickles.
Yeah, like a pickled substance.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, there's 2 wooden spoons, a wooden fork, and a knife in the jar.
Okay. And then she goes back to pick up the teacup and smell that as well.
It smells of tea.
Yeah, so there's tea inside of the teacup. Yes.
I mean, or it's just been used for tea several times.
Okay, then she feels inside and see if there's leaves.
There are no leaves inside the teacups.
Oh no. Dang it. All right. So she goes to check what fell on the ground carefully,
Okay.
because it's probably something broke
Yeah, something
and
did
it's
break.
glass.
It is
Yeah.
not glass, but it is like porcelain, like it is clay.
Okay.
And as you're very careful not to stab yourself on any of the pieces, you
Mm-hmm.
do find some jagged clay pieces and then what feels like dried up tea leaves.
Oh, dang. So the teapot fell. Shoot.
It's like it.
Hmm. I wonder if there's a way to salvage the tea, or if I should just put the hot water in the cup and tell them that the tea was nice. Um, Is there any way for her to separate the clay parts to the tea leaves that she feels?
Oh yeah, easily.
Okay. Then definitely that's what she does. She sorts them to try to salvage any tea that she can have.
Okay. Seeing as how you're blind, you do gather up the large shards of the clay pot.
Mhm.
Some of the smaller ones have gotten away from you. Some of them have scratched the tips of your fingers as you're kind of clawing at the tea leaves to try and salvage them.
Mhm.
Um, you put some of them in the cup. You're not sure how much of it is tea and how much of it is floor sand,
That's fine.
floor dirt. Uh, but you're pretty sure that you have enough tea in one of the cups for a drink.
Beautiful. She picks up the teacup filled with maybe floor tea
Yep.
or probably guaranteed floor tea.
Yep.
And you said the table was south, right?
Yep.
So she starts heading east towards the fireplace.
Yep.
Slowly, not to burn herself in the fire or on the kettle.
Right. You since you're going slowly, you do kind of take one step and you can feel the impact of the boot as it's about to come down where you put the tea kettle.
So she kneels down and with one hand grabs the kettle and with the other hand kind of gauges where the cup is so that she can pour her floor tea. And that is exactly how she'll drink it on the floor with a very, very nice grin on her face, whether or not the tea tastes good.
Yeah.
Um,
There the second you tilt the kettle over,
mhm,
you hear that only some of the water has made contact with the cup, and so
mhm,
you do hear some of it splash on the floor, and you adjust very quickly,
mhm.
and then you feel the weight of the water kind of filling up the teacup in your hand. Um, it is a rough guess, but you manage to stop before it overflows.
Mhm.
You don't know how much, but you do stop it. So there's very limited water damage to the floor. Um,
I thought the floor was dirt.
no, the floor is wood.
Oh,
There's just
then there's this dirty floor.
yeah. You're
Okay,
wolves. What do you care?
I don't give a shit,
Yeah,
especially if no one's looking.
exactly. And you're not looking. Hey, well, you have tea. Next morning, they put you on the wagon. They mention that you're blind, so they ask that they take extra special care of you. And it does, in fact, take about a little over 2 weeks for you to go from Kansas to Conflict, Colorado.
Oh my.
Excuse me. And as your wagon arrives, it is mid afternoon. You can hear the sound of some piano being played not too far away. You can hear the sound of drinking, glasses being clinked, the sound of women laughing, men hooting, hollering. You can smell the perfume in the air. Um, and there is a gentle voice that kind of comes up behind you as you're being helped off of the wagon and the knapsack is being handed to you.
Mhm.
Um, I understand that you are who I am here to help. Yes?
She kind of juts her hand out and says, "Do you have the name Death? Do you have the word death in your name? Because then, yes, absolutely, you are."
Uh, you hear the body shifting around to stand in front of you so they can shake your hand. And then
Mhm.
you feel this very, very gentle hand kind of shake. Yes, I am the tail singer. Uh, are you are you well? Do you require some rest? There is a bit of a hike from the city to where you should be introduced.
She she adjusts her, I guess, her dress
Hmm.
and says, "Well, if there's a hike and I'm wearing heels, then I think I should get it over with now than later."
You don't see it, but he nods, and then he kind of takes your hand, puts it on his shoulder,
"Mm,
and then we will go this way then.
Thank you, sir."
Yes, of course. Um, I am thankful that you did not use any of our actual nomenclature in front of the humans.
She kind of giggles and says, "Well, I don't want to give any secrets away."
Oh, good, good. This will be an interesting mentorship then.
Yes, it should, but I'm ready to learn everything that I can.
Good. You should be warned. The Cairns Alpha is difficult. He will
She
not take
takes
kindly to you being a Metis.
She takes a deep breath. This is not anything that she's unfamiliar with. Uh, and she kind of just like pats him again and says, "I I'm hoping that my smiling personality wins him over just a little bit."
Oh, you are hoping for too much, madam. Uh, the Cairns Alpha and the Cairns Master of Challenges are both red talents. The fact that you are Metis and the fact that you are human born, or mostly human, will not go kindly with both of them. I hope you are familiar with your wolf form.
She is becomes a bit solemn and says, "Yes, I understand. Thank you for warning me."
Hmm. Come along then. And he does take you out of the city. You start to hear the noises start to fade.
Mhm,
Uh, the sense of the wilderness start to kind of permeate everything. The sound of crickets, the night birds start to warble.
mhm,
Uh, you can feel the coolness as you start to climb up what you can only imagine is some kind of slope on a mountain. Um, and then after about hour and a half, he comes to a portion where you can start to hear leaves crunching under your feet. You can feel the soft dirt, the grass, and he puts your hand out by a tree. He's like, "Excuse me, I must announce us." Um,
yes, absolutely.
and you hear the grunts that are very familiar to you of somebody shifting their form.
Mhm,
Uh, and then you hear him kind of drop down, and then you hear four sets of kind of paddings, so you know that he's in his wolf form. And right out the gate, without even warning you, you just hear him howling. Starts to
mhm,
howl, and you recognize it as an introduction howl. He is
mhm,
mentioning that he's bringing somebody, and then before a response can be heard, you hear another howl of somebody bringing somebody in as well. Um, and there's a return howl that says both of you are welcome here. Uh,
mhm,
bring bring your new cubs in, and as you are being led, like he transforms back into his human form,
mhm,
starts to lead you through the forest that you are in now, and as you are brought into the cairn proper, you can hear what is a few voices kind of gathered around. Everybody's surprised at the fact that there are these new faces, all of which have arrived, give or take, around the same time period. And as you are going to be introduced to the cairn here, I think this is a good spot to call it for tonight. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and watching our Galliard arrive at Conflict, Colorado. As always, please, please, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, continue to wear your masks, continue to wash your hands, continue to keep your distance. And if you are of age, please, please get yourselves vaccinated so we can try to get over this whole situation, because science is the right way to do things, not feelings, not uh, what you read on your uncle's Facebook. So please, if you can, get yourselves vaccinated. As always, I will see you on Friday for our Star Wars campaign, or I will see you next Monday for our Vampire Camarilla chapter. If not, we will see you next Tuesday with the very face that you saw tonight as we play our Legend of the Five Rings Chronicle. So I will see you guys when I see you. And as always, if you are in need of help of any way, shape, or form, uh, just know that it is okay to not feel okay. If you're watching live on Twitch, there are phone numbers going up in our chat right now to help you get the help that you need. If you're not in the United States of America, there's a link going up so that you can find the resources in your area. All of this will be in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube, because we feel that mental health here on the channel is part of our general health and it shouldn't be stigmatized or considered a taboo subject. So please understand that if you feel like you're not okay, there are resources for you to use, and they are in abundance. So don't feel like you are a burden on somebody. There is somebody who is willing to listen to you and to help you get over the hump of darkness that you are feeling. And if you are a friend or family member or somebody that is usually a happy-go-lucky personality, please check in on them. You never know how far a simple hello, how are you, or how are you doing can definitely change the trajectory of somebody's life. So as always, I will see you when I see you. Please have yourselves a good night and take care of yourselves.